Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Simon here with another reaction to The Acolyte. Moving on to episode number 3. And obviously in the week since the first 2 episodes premiered, as expected, there's been some discourse around this show. The majority of people have really liked it. The critic reviews have been really good. As expected, some of the discourse from the vocal minority who just don't seem to like anything with women or people of colour in it has been negative. It's been getting review bombed, but that was to be expected, from the way that people were, acting like children in the lead up to this show, just because, again, they seem to have an issue with anything that's not revolving around a straight white male lead. And I'm not one who normally leans into, that kind of discourse, but it is frustrating just to see the same old people make the same old mistakes and the same old arguments. And it's kind of like, you know what, if you don't enjoy it, just stop watching it. All these people who seem to claim that Disney are destroying Star Wars, and yet they still watch it. They still hate watching. It's just like, all right, just whatever. Don't complain. You know what you're getting. And, similarly with this episode, I've been reading some hints online that they're going to destroy the Force in this episode. That very consistent, well-defined thing that is the Force, that everyone knows exactly how it works, and it absolutely hasn't changed ever since it was first introduced in that original film back in 1977, to the point where George Lucas himself has changed it many, many times. I'm sure that, it won't be as bad as people make out to be. I don't really know what they're going to be talking about. It's clear that something has been leaked from the early viewings, but I don't know what it is that they're necessarily hinting at. As always, I will give an upfront and honest review. The first 2 episodes, I enjoyed them. Were they perfect? No. But they had good action, good mystery. I enjoyed the characters so far. I am a card-carrying member of the Yord Horde. But, there were some things that were off, like the pacing and the editing. I felt like, that was, a little bit iffy at points. But any criticisms around stupid things like fire in space, it's already a non-starter. I already imagine you're a bad faith actor if that's the route you're going. But I enjoyed the first 2 episodes, as did the majority of critics and the majority of people I've seen online, have said. And again, viewing figures, very strong for the first, couple of episodes, compared to a well-established, kind of well-built show like Ahsoka that got 14 million views in its first 5 days. The Acolyte has gotten 11 million views, so again, it's doing pretty well on the viewing figures. It was never going to be as good as Ahsoka because people have not got as much of a vested interest with characters that we just don't know yet. So, again, anyone expecting it to pull 20, 25 million, that was never going to be realistic. Anything over 10 million in the first 5 days was always going to be a good figure. So, like I say, the show definitely has some areas it could improve on, but I thought it's a very strong start. Really like the idea that, the beginning of each episode, we see a Jedi get knocked off. In different ways as well. In this episode, it seems to be hinting that the Wookiee Kalnaka might be at risk. That'll be interesting to see. I hope the Kalnaka sticks around a bit. But it's also clear that we're going to be getting some flashbacks as well. So those characters are still going to be around, even if we don't get to see them in their older age, because they get killed. And obviously the mystery around who the Sith is going to be continuing on. So we're going to jump in and watch episode number 3. Brenock. 16 years earlier. This was the... Oh, this is the planet that they mentioned that they were from. So I wonder if we'll see exactly what happened. I love it when Star Wars is exotic and alien. I just don't think we've had enough of that over the last few years. Although this is a bit dark, it looks like.
Hey, how did you know I was here?
Oh, look at that. The twins had the same haircut when they were younger. And that's why they had the same haircut when they were older.
It's dangerous.
Funny how there's a rational explanation for things that people get pissed off about.
And you can free me.
What are you doing here?
Oh.
How many times have I told you?
Zabrak.
It's not safe out here.
Sorry, Mother Coral.
So these are going to be part of... Are they part of a Dathomiri cult?
It isn't fair.
Coven?
I'm old enough to go outside the fortress walls.
The rules are for your safety.
Let them have some spice creams.
Mama!
My sweet girls must have sweet treats.
So I'm guessing less Dathomiri, but still seems to be a cult or a coven of some kind.
Meet me in the common room for your training session.
None. Our scouts think they've moved their ship inland.
I told you this planet would be safe haven for our coven.
It's not going to stay safe.
Oh no,
if our
lesbians.
ship's running away.
The incels are mad.
It binds you to others.
I'm always down for seeing non-Jedi and Sith Force users. At the end of the day, we've got to expand the Force beyond the Sith and the Jedi.
And tonight, at the ceremony, you will experience the power of many.
Pay attention. Stop distracting me.
Girls,
I'll say that the kids are annoying, but that's down to it being kids.
your enemies will not warn you before they attack.
Thank you. I'd have done the same. I really like the woman who plays the mother here. She's got a very genuine feel to her. You know, like a very motherly kind of presence. Not what I'd expect of a witch that, you know, we've seen previously.
This is your sister. The galaxy is not a place that welcomes women like us. Witches who have the abilities we do. You and your sister are special, Osha.
I mean, that applies to the Jedi, doesn't it?
To stay special.
The Jedi like to come and sweep up kids who are Force sensitive.
Don't you wonder what could be out there besides Brenock? No. Why not? Everything I need is here.
So you can see what they're trying to do with them. I just always feel like trying to do it through kids is always a tricky thing to pull off. Costumes are on point as well, again. Like, the aesthetic of the show has still been really good, and the locations as well. You can just tell the difference. Oh, something's going to go wrong here with Osha, isn't there? Because that's where she gets the tattoo.
Ascend.
You're trespassing.
Forgive our intrusion. We thought this planet was uninhabited.
The all-knowing Jedi were ignorant of their surroundings. I find that hard to believe.
Yeah.
We mean you and your coven no harm.
I mean, they sliced into their base, so...
Armed.
The Republic lost.
Brenock is not a part of the Republic.
There are no children
I was going to say...
here.
Well, I mean, that's... It's not true, but it's a bit hypocritical, isn't it?
Where is their father?
They have no father.
Is this what people are referring to about the Force being
That marking.
broken?
Was it there this morning?
You're spying on us?
Because if so, I got news for you.
The Jedi do not take children.
Anakin was a virgin birth too. Uh-oh.
We appreciate your cooperation.
gather my advisors.
You can see why that pissed them off. It's like they're minding their own business,
Bed, now.
and then the Jedi show up, lie, and feel like they've got the right to
Make our move tonight. While the moons are
influence
high.
their kids.
And what happens if the Jedi discover how you created them?
Dark magic.
Test has two outcomes.
Holy shit. So I think I can see where this is probably going to go. I think Osha will pass the test. May will get pissed off and cause a fire.
May, I don't want to lie. Hi.
Do you speak Wookiee? I don't think you speak Wookiee.
A mountain.
Correct.
That wasn't a mountain.
Ah, they're catching her out.
Did someone tell you
That's
to
clever.
this test? I was younger than you are,
Gotta say, I love this ship.
and the Jedi tested me.
Like,
I was only
the interior design of the ship is pretty cool.
Really?
Yes. I found out there were many other children like me.
There are other children there?
Thousands like us.
Playing on that
But you must
desire
have
to be
the
surrounded by other
courage
kids.
to say what you want.
Still, she can only be, what, like 12, 13?
I want to be a Jedi.
Surely still can't. No, in fact, they said, I think he said 8.
Then you must have the courage to tell the truth.
She seems older than 8, though.
And pull it.
I'll never see you again.
You won't.
Same with Anakin. Will he ever see you again? And he does,
You
technically.
should not make this decision, Osha. You should.
Ah, that's what she was drawing. The symbol of the Jedi.
I won't let
And this
you.
is where everything goes to shit.
You can't go. We're stuck here now. It's not up to you. You can't stop me. Yes, I can. How? I'll kill you.
Oh, that's definitely... It's definitely rational. Oh god. That fire spread quickly. Oh, those generators. I was going to say, those generators didn't look stable. Yeah, so not quite the decision
I got you.
to save one or the other, but he couldn't save... He couldn't save May at the same time.
Where am I?
We are on our way to Coruscant.
What happened?
Fire, explosion,
Started a fire.
death.
It destroyed everything.
I thought the Jedi would be more heavily involved. Like they would have caused the fire or something. With the way that Torben kind of felt guilt.
Go back. We have to go back.
We can't.
We must.
Okay, so I can definitely see why a certain vocal minority will be up in arms at this episode, mostly because it features almost exclusively women. And, you know, if what they were all saying about the Force being ruined just because there was apparently dark side powers used to conceive the twins, did they miss Anakin's entire backstory of him being a virgin birth? Because that's the same thing, and it's very heavily implied that it's dark side magic, so that's not, you know, something that should be done. So I don't see in any way, shape or form how that's ruined anything. But again, that's probably just people getting up in arms for no reason. That's not to say that there weren't issues with this episode. Again, I think that for most of us, we could have seen exactly what was happening there and what they're trying to do. They're trying to set out the idea that, although they're twins, they are very much different. Osha had the ideas, from a young age that she wants to break free of the Coven and go out and explore the galaxy, and the Jedi offered a way to do that. At the same time, showing May's kind of anger issues, and how they kind of, I suppose, in a way, very much like the two parents. One is a bit more open and accepting, the other is much more of a taskmaster and a disciplinarian. And it's also there to show that the Jedi kind of are a little bit hypocritical. I think people forget that at this point we're only about, we're less than 100 years out from the Phantom Menace. And this is kind of like just after the height of the Jedi Order, and it's where the Jedi start to really slip into that kind of arrogance and pride. And, they feel like they own the Force and they can do no wrong. And that's what's heavily implied here, is that, anyone who uses the Force that isn't a Jedi is accosted and hunted, even if they're just trying to keep to themselves. The Jedi have these double standards where they come along, they can sweep up children as they like, under the guise of giving the children their own choice, whilst not really giving much choice to anyone else. I mean, they were about to quote Republic law, saying that you can't train children in the Force, but yet Jedi can do it. Again, is that not double standards? And again, people will try and tie that into an agenda or a political, message, but it's actually it's a genuine, old-fashioned way of storytelling. Some kind of powerful organization that presents itself as being the good guys is actually deeply corrupt, has double standards, and is on its path to destruction. And that's what the Jedi need to be at this point. They need to be on a path to destruction. They need to be hypocritical, because otherwise there'd be no reason for them to fall anyway. And, I feel, the thing is, I've got to say, I feel bad for especially Torben. Because Torben, I didn't realise, was a Padawan when all this happened, and he obviously killed himself in the last episode. But the thing is that I don't know if there's something more that's gone on there. There does definitely appear to be more involvement for the Jedi than they're leading on, because, again, with Torben being so guilty that he locked himself away for a decade and then happily killed himself, that doesn't say to me that that was guilt from just showing up to test the twins and that led to a tragic accident. There's got to be something more there that they're not letting us on to. And I think this is a bit of a red herring, this episode. It's trying to portray the events from Osha's point of view. And I think that we might get a bit more of May's perspective. And I think eventually that might open things up a bit more to showing exactly what happened and more about the Jedi involvement. I will say, obviously the weakest point of this episode is, and again, I won't hark on about this too much because it's not really fair. The kids. The kids are the weak point. Not just in their acting, but in anything that revolves around, kids having to be a main focus of a story. It very rarely works out, but I was especially frustrated with the acting of the two young children. But again, I'm not gonna hark on about that, because as we learned from the Jake Lloyd saga, they are kids. You can't expect them to be perfect. The responsibility, if anything falls short, it's a responsibility on the director and the casting agent. But I did feel like they were the weak point in this episode. I couldn't quite buy into their performance. And it can be frustrating when it happens, because, they're the story. They have to carry it. I very much liked the mother character. I thought that she was very warm. I liked the idea that we've got a different portrayal of the Force. Again, I think so many people who will automatically dislike this show are so caught up in the ways of it has to be the Jedi and it has to be the Sith. In the same way that it has to be Anakin who's special. There can't be anyone else special. There can't be any other Force users other than Jedi and Sith. But realistically, if we're trying to build more outside of the original trilogy, we have to have more to the Force than just light and dark, Jedi and Sith. It's what, and again, I was no fan of the film, but it's what the Last Jedi was trying to do. Luke said the Force isn't a weapon; it's not something the Jedi own. But at this point in time, it definitely feels like that's how they're acting. So the philosophy behind that, I think, is a very good one. And a good story to tell. The idea that there are these covens and these different people and these different cultures that can use the Force, see the Force in different ways. The Dathomiri witches, again, another all-female coven that could use the Force, saw it in a different way. They saw it as magic. It manifested differently, but it's all the same thing. But you can't just have the Force be the same thing over and over and over again. It has to expand, it has to grow, it has to develop. To give the perspective that at the time of the original films, it's become such a narrow-minded, singular thing because it is just a small handful of people that can use it. And the reason that came about is because of the arrogance of the Jedi. So I think that the philosophy behind the show, spot on. The way that they're trying to portray the Jedi, the way that they're trying to expand the world to show that there's more than just Jedi and Sith, and that the actions of the Jedi have consequences. Even if it's indirect, even if, May already had anger issues and she shouldn't have done what she did, the Jedi simply being there and showing up and being the catalyst is enough to, put that message across that, they shouldn't be as forceful. Because the first thing they did was lie. It's like, oh, we thought this world was uninhabited. We didn't think there was anyone here. And it's like, well, that's wrong because you immediately broke in, immediately knew that there was kids being trained and asked to see them, and then you try and influence them to take them away. So the Jedi aren't innocent by any stretch of the imagination, and I like that, It's again, this isn't the squeaky clean version of the Jedi that you might think. They are on that path to darkness, and that's how it should be. That's how it should be. So anyway, I can already foresee a lot of the uproar from that portion of the audience, but let them rage into the ether, shout into the void, and we'll continue on watching and enjoying for what we can. But again, it's not immune to criticism. I'll say that again, for all the stuff that I really enjoyed, the kind of the characters I liked. I loved the sets and the locations, and especially the Jedi ship interior. That looked, fabulous. It kind of almost reminded me of a 50s diner in a way. It was evoking a lot of again, prequel era aesthetics, which is fantastic. But again, for all those, there are issues as well. Still, some of the story threads are, a little bit loose. I don't quite buy in Soul's heavy affections for Osha this early on. He seems to be instantly, attached to her. And likewise, Osha and May, the performances were quite lackluster. But, I put that down to direction and casting over anything else. So, anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you for episode number 4.